Imagine having your driver's license suspended by the state for, reckless driving.
Right, your car is just completely impounded.
Exactly. You are legally forbidden from being on the road. And then, literally the very next day, you show up at a city council meeting, in a tailored suit, no less, to give this impassioned lecture on the vital importance of global traffic safety.
And you're, like, sitting right next to the mayor telling him how to design the highways.
Yes, that is exactly what is happening right now.
It is an incredibly surreal image.
Oh, yeah.
If you walked into that room, you would immediately assume it was some kind of joke. But it's exactly what is happening at the absolute highest levels of global technology today.
It really is. So today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to take the absolute latest intelligence from the Tech Reader AI Digest and synthesize what is frankly an unprecedented day in the tech world.
Yeah, unprecedented is almost an understatement.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We are looking at a total collision of massive industry-altering forces here. We have a government export control directive, a massive platform migration, and a global infrastructure crisis all happening at the exact same time.
And, if there's one lens you, the listener, need to view all of this through, it's this: we are actively witnessing the death of the OpenAI era.
Wow.
Yeah. What we're going to explore today is a massive power grab. You have governments asserting control from the top down and massive tech corporations locking up the tools developers use to build the future from the bottom up.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we have to start with that surreal driver's license scenario, which has to be the most fascinating geopolitical tech clash of the week. So set the stage for us. Where are we?
Okay, so we are in Evian-les-Bains, France. It's Wednesday. There's a G7 working lunch happening. You have the leaders of the world's 7 largest democracies gathered together to discuss the global economy.
Right.
And sitting right across the table from U.S. President Donald Trump is Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic.
And he didn't come alone, right?
No, not at all. He is actually flanked by Sam Altman of OpenAI and Demis Hassabis of Google DeepMind.
Which is wild.
It's totally wild. These are 3 of the fiercest competitors on the planet. They're usually fighting tooth and nail for, every single compute cycle and enterprise contract.
Yeah.
But here, they're practically locking arms. Amodei is looking directly at these world leaders and urging them to, quote, resist the temptation to splinter their approach to artificial intelligence.
Which sounds incredibly noble, right? Very, we are all in this together for the good of humanity kind of vibes. And Altman is even backing him up, specifically pushing for allied nations to share cyber defense AI tools.
Exactly. Amodei is actively advocating for a U.S.-led evaluation forum to just keep all these allied countries aligned on testing and deployment.
But wait, hold on. We have to address the massive, incredibly awkward elephant sitting in the middle of that lunch table. Amodei is sitting across from the U.S. president, preaching global unity and cooperation, while his company's own flagship models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, have literally been forced offline for 6 days under a U.S. export control order.
Right.
His own government locked him out of his own system. How is no one laughing him out of the room?
Because the stakes are simply too high for anyone to laugh. What's fascinating here is how the rest of the world is actually reacting to this specific dynamic.
Tell me.
Well, while Amodei is in France talking about unity, negotiators back in Washington are currently calling Anthropic's pre-ban conduct reckless.
Ouch.
Yeah. Now, Anthropic completely disputes that characterization, obviously. But you have French President Emmanuel Macron sitting at that same table, and he points directly to this dispute.
Right, because this isn't just an American problem anymore.
Exactly. Macron warned that if the United States can just, turn off the switch from one day to the next on a system that the global economy relies on, it fundamentally damages these multi-trillion-dollar companies.
Which makes sense.
Think about the mechanism here. The U.S. Commerce Department issues an order. U.S.-based cloud providers halt access. And suddenly, a business in Paris or Tokyo that built its entire customer service pipeline on Fable 5 just goes dark.
So Macron is basically saying, you Americans are proving exactly why we can't rely on you.
Yes. He's raising the whole concept of AI sovereignty. And to be completely impartial here, we have to look at both sides of the coin.
Sure.
From Washington's perspective, this is purely a national security issue. If an AI model has a critical vulnerability, you cannot allow it to remain accessible on the global internet where, say, an adversary nation could exploit it to generate cyber attacks or biological weapons.
Right, like national security will always trump commercial convenience.
Always. But from the European perspective,
Yeah, what's their angle?
from their perspective, as Macron pointed out, this unilateral ability for the U.S. to just pull the plug without warning is a massive economic liability. It destroys trust.
It's a huge risk.
It tells every allied nation that they need to build their own systems, completely independent of U.S. regulation.
It's top-down control in action. Governments are realizing they hold the ultimate off switch. But the geography of this anthropic crisis doesn't stop in France or Washington.
No, it doesn't.
Because while Amadei is navigating this incredibly tense diplomatic standoff in the Alps, his executives are quite literally on the other side of the planet cutting a ribbon.
The pivot here is jarring. I mean, we moved from the G7 summit in France to a press conference in South Korea. Anthropic executives are officially opening a massive new flagship international office at the Conrad Seoul.
Which is wild. The flagship products are completely dead in the water globally, and they are throwing a launch party.
Yeah.
And at this party, the international managing director, Chris Ciari, gets up to a podium and makes this incredibly bold public statement. He looks at the cameras and says, Fable 5 and Mythos 5 will return, quote, within days.
Which is, the clearest, most optimistic public signal we've had from anyone at Anthropic since the total shutdown began. But the location of this announcement is the true paradox.
South Korea. Why is that specific country so important to this shutdown?
Because South Korea is the exact origin point of the jailbreak that triggered the entire U.S. export ban in the first place.
Wait, okay, let's pause here. Because when we say jailbreak, I think a lot of people think of like old iPhones or guessing a password.
Right.
How do you actually extract vulnerability data from a massive language model like Fable 5?
So it's not about hacking a password at all. It's about adversarial prompting. Essentially, a third party located in South Korea figured out a way to structure inputs like asking the AI a series of incredibly complex layered questions that completely confuse the model's internal guardrails.
So interesting.
Yeah, instead of answering the prompt normally, the model bypassed its own safety training and just started spitting out data regarding its underlying architecture and software vulnerabilities.
Oh, wow. So they tricked the AI into revealing its own blueprints.
Exactly. And Amazon, who hosts a massive amount of this compute infrastructure on AWS, detected these highly anomalous, complex requests coming from South Korea.
They saw the spike.
Right. They flagged what was happening, realized the severity of the vulnerability being exposed, and escalated that directly to U.S. officials.
Oh, man.
And that escalation is what caused the Commerce Department to drop the hammer and take the models offline globally.
So Anthropic is literally opening a flagship office and throwing a party in the exact country that accidentally burned their house down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I have to question this within days timeline that their executive threw out at that press conference. Like, is this genuine confidence that the U.S. government is backing down, or is this just aggressive PR spin to save face in front of the local media?
Well, when you look at the calendar, you realize that the calendar is the one doing the negotiating right now. The deadlines are incredibly tight.
Extremely. I mean, the refund deadline for Anthropic's enterprise users is June 20th. That is looming right over their heads.
Yep.
And the massive Fable 5 pricing window, where they locked in promotional rates for developers, that expires on June 22nd.
Right. And meanwhile, prediction markets, which track where people are actually putting their real money, are only giving a 60% chance of a July 1st restoration.
Wow.
They are not buying the within days narrative at all. They're betting on weeks.
Okay, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see the massive operational bet Anthropic is making by standing at that podium in Seoul.
Oh, it's high-stakes poker. By opening this office right now, on day 6 of a total global blackout, and publicly committing to a rapid resolution, they are pushing all their chips to the center of the table.
They have to deliver.
If they fail to get those models back online soon, the narrative is just disastrous. They will have launched a major strategic international hub in the very country that caused their biggest security crisis, all while their flagship models remain totally inaccessible to the South Korean developers they're trying to court.
It's just wild. We are seeing governments aggressively assert control over AI from the top down. But there is a second equally aggressive power grab happening today from the bottom up. And this one is coming from the tech corporations themselves, locking up the very tools developers use to build the future.
Yeah, we're moving from external government forcing functions to internal corporate forcing functions. Effective today, June 18th, Google is officially shutting down Gemini CLI and the Gemini Code Assist IDE extensions.
So if you are a developer listening right now and you use Google AI Pro, Google AI Ultra, or even the free individual tier to help you write code as of today, that legacy tool is dead.
It just stops serving requests.
And the craziest part to me is that they did this on a 30-day notice. In the developer world, 30 days is nothing. You cannot migrate an entire engineering team's workflow in a month.
It is an incredibly aggressive timeline. They're replacing the legacy tool with the new system called anti-gravity CLI. Now, they are justifying this by pointing to major technological upgrades.
Right, they're moving the underlying build from TypeScript to Go. But what does that actually mean for the person typing on the keyboard? I mean, I know Go is a compiled language, but why force millions of developers to migrate just for a language switch?
Because it completely changes the mechanism of how you interact with the AI. It's not just about Go being faster or, more responsive. It's about what Go allows them to do, asynchronous multi-agent workflows.
Okay, break that down for us. What exactly is an asynchronous multi-agent workflow?
Okay, so in the old system, if you ask the AI to help you rewrite a complex piece of code, it was basically a superpowered autocomplete. You asked a question, it answered, and your terminal was locked up while it thought about it.
Right.
With anti-gravity's multi-agent workflows, you're no longer just asking an AI for a snippet of code. You are delegating massive tasks to a team of AI agents. You can say, hey, refactor this entire database structure, and while you do that, run parallel research on these 5 bugs.
And it all just runs in the background.
Exactly. It's asynchronous. Your terminal isn't locked. You can keep writing code while these AI agents are essentially rebuilding the plumbing of your app behind the scenes. And it shares the exact same architecture as the Anti-Gravity 2.0 desktop app.
Which sounds absolutely incredible. As a developer, you become like a manager of AI employees rather than just a person typing syntax.
Yeah.
So if this new tool is so much more powerful, why is there an absolute firestorm of developer backlash happening right now?
Because of what Google destroyed to build it. Gemini CLI was an open source project. It operated under an Apache 2.0 license. In just 1 year, that open source project accumulated over 104,000 GitHub stars.
Wow.
It had 6,000 merged external pull requests.
Meaning the developer community essentially built and refined this tool for Google for free?
Yes. Thousands of independent developers submitted code to make it better. But anti-gravity CLI, the replacement, is entirely closed source. You cannot look at the code, you cannot modify it, you cannot fork it.
It is brutal. It's like, imagine a neighborhood comes together to build this beautiful, thriving community garden.
Okay.
People are bringing seeds, tilling the soil, sharing the harvest. It is completely open to everyone. And then, after a year of incredible, vibrant growth, the landowner just brings in bulldozers in the middle of the night, paves over the whole garden, and builds a locked private grocery store.
That is a perfect analogy for what is happening on GitHub today.
Right. Because, sure, you can walk into that new grocery store and get your food much faster. The aisles are clean, the supply chain is hyper-efficient, but the community is completely locked out of the process.
They've lost all transparency.
Exactly. They have no idea how the food is actually grown.
Yeah.
Developers can no longer inspect or understand the tool they are relying on to write their own software.
This raises an important question, and it's the core debate dominating developer forums right now. Do the undeniable speed and multi-agent architecture gains of anti-gravity justify the complete destruction of the open source community that built its predecessor?
And Google is clearly betting that raw performance will ultimately win out over openness. People will complain, but they will still use the faster tool. But it makes you wonder why Google is making such an aggressive, potentially alienating move right now. Why rush to a closed-source, vertically integrated model and force everyone over in just 30 days?
Because they are in an arms race.
Yeah.
The market chaos around developer tools right now is completely unprecedented. Control over the coding environment has become the most valuable real estate in technology. Look at the sources we're tracking today. Google is actually the third major AI lab in just 2 weeks to radically reshape its coding toolchain.
Right, because look at what else is happening on the radar today. You have SpaceX sitting on a pending $60 billion acquisition of Cursor.
Insane.
$60 billion just for an AI code editor.
Which tells you everything you need to know about where the industry is heading. If you control the environment where the software is written, you control the future of the software itself. But, building these environments requires an unfathomable amount of compute power. Which brings us to the Microsoft situation.
Yes. Talk about this, because this blew my mind when I read it in the digest. Microsoft is currently dealing with an ongoing emergency infrastructure crisis. It is so bad that they're actually having to route their GitHub code forge through Amazon's AWS capacity just to keep things running.
Which is staggering when you understand the mechanics of the cloud industry.
Hmm.
Microsoft owns Azure. They're one of the biggest cloud providers on Earth.
Wait, Microsoft is using Amazon servers? That is literally like McDonald's running out of beef at lunch hour and secretly sending employees out the back door to buy burgers from Burger King to serve to their customers.
That's exactly what it's like.
How bad is this compute crisis?
It is buckling the system.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of compute required to run millions of concurrent AI coding agents is melting down existing infrastructure. Microsoft is straining under the weight.
Wow.
So Google looks at Microsoft buckling. They look at SpaceX buying Cursor for $60 billion. They look at Anthropic building out their own developer tools. And Google realizes they need a fully integrated proprietary stack immediately. Hence, the 30-day forced march to anti-gravity.
And this rapid consolidation isn't just happening among corporations. We are seeing it mirror that top-down geopolitical control we talked about at the G7.
Exactly. Look at the news today regarding Project Glasswing. This is the highly exclusive preview program for the new Mythos model. They just announced that Canada has been added to the roster of over 200 organizations with early access.
So why is adding Canada so notable in the context of this arms race?
Because of the broader sovereign-level alliances forming in the background. Canada's addition is deeply tied to the recent Canada-Germany Sovereign Tech Alliance.
Okay.
And remember, that is the exact same geopolitical alliance that underpins the pending $20 billion merger between AI firms Cohere and Aleph Alpha.
So you have a massive North American-European tech merger happening, actively backed by national governments, specifically designed to be a counterweight to U.S. dominance.
Precisely.
They are building their own closed loop. So what does this all mean? If you take all these pieces, Almo Day, locked out by the U.S. government, but pleading for unity at the G7, Anthropic betting the farm on a sole office, Google bulldozing its open source community for a closed AI agent, SpaceX dropping $60 billion, and nations forming sovereign tech alliances. What is the actual takeaway for the listener today?
The overarching synthesis of all these events is that we are witnessing the final days of the fragmented open AI era. We are transitioning into a completely new paradigm.
It's all locking down.
Between government export controls that can literally shut off a model globally overnight, $60 billion tech acquisitions buying up the interface layer, and closed-source corporate ecosystems replacing open community tools. AI is rapidly consolidating.
It is becoming sovereign level.
Exactly. We're moving toward vertically integrated stacks. It's no longer just about who can build the smartest AI model. It's about who owns the entire pipeline from top to bottom. You need the massive compute infrastructure. You need the proprietary models. You need the closed-source developer tools to lock users in. And you need the geopolitical alliances to ensure a foreign government doesn't just pull the plug on your servers.
It is becoming a game that only megacorporations and nation-states have the resources to play. The era of the scrappy, open-source AI breakthrough in a garage is being paved over for the private grocery store.
It is a fundamental shift in the center of gravity for the entire tech industry.
It really is. So, to wrap up our deep dive today, let's just look at the new map we've drawn from these sources. We are waking up to a world where the most advanced AI systems can be turned off by presidential administrations without warning. We are living in an ecosystem where the very environments developers use to write code are being aggressively closed off and locked down by megacorporations on a 30-day notice. And we are watching billion-dollar acquisitions and international government alliances fundamentally redraw the borders of the internet.
And it's all happening simultaneously.
And as we watch this massive collision of forces settle, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over.
Go for it.
Think about the actual mechanics of what we discussed today. If the very tools we use to write software things, like the new closed-source anti-gravity CLI or Cursor, are now deeply integrated AI agents that are completely controlled by a few massive corporations or heavily regulated by national security export laws, who is actually going to be writing the software of the future?
It's a great question.
Is it the human developer typing on the keyboard? Is it the mega corporation that owns the background agent silently finishing your code? Or is it the state that regulates what that agent is legally allowed to generate? When the tools needed to build the future are locked inside a proprietary black box, the person holding the key holds all the power.
Absolutely.
We started today looking at a radically shifting landscape, a collision of top-down and bottom-up control. And as the dust settles, the tech world left behind might not look anything like the open internet we grew up with. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.